Hello, and welcome to Supporting Neurodivergent Communication in the Early Years. This workshop has been developed by the Speech and Language Therapy team within NHS Lanarkshire Neurodevelopmental Service for Children and Young People. Today, we will provide strategies to support your child's communication, including early interaction and use of visual supports. These strategies will take into account the different ways that neurodivergent children learn and develop skills in these areas. During this presentation, we will use a variety of different terminology. We will use the term neurodivergent to talk about young people who have brain differences that affect how their brain works. These brain differences can be categorized into specific neurotypes. Different neurotypes include autism, ADHD, and intellectual or learning disability. The term neurotypical may be used when talking about young people who do not present with these differences. Just as no two neurotypical people are the same, neither are two neurodivergent people. We use the term autistic person rather than person with autism, as this is the current preferred terminology from the autistic community. However, we appreciate everyone is different and individuals will have their own preferences. Neurodivergent children and young people may have notably different communication styles in comparison to the neurotypical population. For example, differences in how they understand and use verbal and non-verbal communication. For example, eye contact, tone of voice, gestures, and facial expressions. It is important for everyone supporting the child to accept these differences in communication style and know that this is the child's way of communicating and it's not something that needs to be fixed or changed. Rather, that certain supports and strategies can be put in place to reduce any barriers to meaningful communication and connection. Neurodivergent children and young people often experience challenges with different areas of social communication. This may include understanding emotions in themselves and others, interpreting the language and communication of others, initiating social interactions, and establishing friendships. Some neurodivergent young people have difficulty in understanding spoken language, and this may include simple words all the way to more complex social use of language, such as jokes and sarcasm, which can also lead to social challenges. Most neurodivergent children will have some form of sensory differences. These differences can impact communication, as a child may be affected by something within the environment, which could be causing them to withdraw from socializing or cause them to become overwhelmed. For example, bright lights, busy and noisy environments, the feeling of items of clothing on their skin, particular smells, and so on. Now that we've covered terminology, we will go on to discuss early interaction and communication. Interaction occurs when you and your child do things together and respond to one another. It is the basis of two-way communication. Every time you and your child interact, you make a connection and communication gets started. Interaction is the foundation for communication. Our early communication skills begin to develop from a young age when we talk, play, and spend time with our family and caregivers. This time is very important because it helps us to learn lots of interaction skills, such as taking turns, non-verbal communication, and understanding the world around us. Neurodivergent children may follow a different developmental trajectory, and this is absolutely okay. Specifically, in children who are autistic, it is common for them to have what we may describe as a spiky profile of development. This means that there are notable differences in abilities from one skill to another. A child who has this type of profile may present with advanced abilities in certain areas, while also having challenges in others. For example, a child that has excellent visual strengths may be great at recognizing numbers, sequences, and patterns, but they may struggle with verbal communication. This can mean their development is often unpredictable, which can make us as parents or carers feel uncertain. If a child is autistic and also has a learning disability or intellectual disability, this developmental profile would appear less spiky and all skills may develop at a slower pace. When supporting a child's early language and communication, understanding their specific profile of development can be helpful to make sure that we are adapting the environment to meet their communication needs appropriately. Communication is an essential part of life. Through communication, we connect with others, we make our wants known, and let other people know how we feel. Children with communication differences face many challenges due to their unique learning styles and sensory preferences, which can make interaction and communication with others difficult. Communication happens when one person sends a message to another. This can be sent in a variety of ways, such as facial expressions, gestures, or words. A person will communicate for a variety of different reasons. For example, to ask for help or to share an idea. Although the child may not always communicate directly using words, there are many other ways they can communicate. They might cry or scream or protest about something. They may make physical contact with you or remain in close proximity to you. They might move their body next to an object or something of interest. They may use gestures, facial expression. They may reach out a hand or point to get what they want. They might take an adult over to something that they want. They might use sounds or words, use their eye contact, or echolalia, which is the repetition of sounds, words, or phrases. Let's have a think about your child or young person. What type of activities do they enjoy most? What toys do they gravitate towards? Do they like people play? Do they like music? Do they like sensory play? Try and lean into this. How do they communicate? Do they take your hand to an object? Do they gesture? Do they vocalize? Do they use words? Why do they communicate? Is it to say no? Is it to get something that they want or to have a need met? Is it to initiate or start play with you? Is it to share their interests? What opportunities do I give them to communicate? Do I immediately meet their needs? Do I offer choices? Once we know these things about our children, we can start to use them to think about ways to support their interaction development. We'll think about sensory preferences. We'll think about their special interests. We'll think about their style of play. It's important for you to establish what level your child is at with regards to their communication. Are they using words to communicate or do they use gesture? Have a look at this image to help you determine where your child is in terms of their communication, as it's so important to meet your child at their current stage. Children who are neurodivergent may require support to establish interactions, and we're going to talk about some of the strategies that may be helpful for you to try with your child to encourage their development of this. It can be hard for children who have social communication difficulties to shift their attention from something they really enjoy to something else. This is why children often appear engrossed with toys or activities, and it is very difficult to get interaction going. A way to make it easier for a child to shift their attention to you is to follow their interests and respond with interest to whatever they do. This will bring their attention to you and start interaction. The first thing that we can do to get an interaction started is to follow our child's lead. So we want to observe. Before joining in with your child's play, sit back and notice what they are doing. What is your child playing with? What are they exploring? What exactly is your child doing with the toy or the object? Are they playing with the toy in a different way to what you might expect? What is it about that action that interests your child? Are they enjoying watching the toy or object? The noise that it makes? The texture of it? What your child chooses to do with toys might be different to what you would expect. Next, we want to follow our child's lead. We want to get face to face. Being face to face means getting down to your child's level and making sure your face is directly in front of theirs. Why? Because it helps get the interaction going. It shows your child you're interested and engaged. It helps your child to notice you. It makes it easier for them to see all the information conveyed within your face. And it helps you to tune in to your child's interests, to notice their smiles and giggles and what they are looking at. Once you're face to face with your child, you want to wait and respond. Wait for your child to start the interaction. This lets your child take the lead. You can wait by staying quiet, moving your body in towards your child, using an encouraging facial expression to show your child you're interested, waiting patiently and giving your child time to start the interaction, responding by saying something about what's captured their interest. If your child doesn't start an interaction after 10 seconds or so, you can take a turn and wait again. You also want to be a copycat. You want to include their interests. Copy your child's actions, actions with toys, and their vocalizations or sounds. This might feel unnatural or silly at first. Your child might not notice you the first time, but keep going. Interactions might be short at first, but over time your child will develop this skill and the interactions will become longer. Get your own toys and play beside your child. If you try and take your child's toy, this may cause some upset. To continue to follow your child's lead, include their interests. Join in with their play and help them with their play. Remember, don't direct or change the play. You're meeting the child where they are and following their lead. This will keep them engaged if they're doing something of interest to them. We can turn their interest into a game. You can join in on their play and add an extra element to this. If your child likes to run around, you can run too. Say chase or gotcha to turn this into a game. Or if your child is exploring number magnets, you can introduce a box to post these into, saying bye bye each time one is posted. An extra tip here when you're interacting with your child is to comment on what they are doing while pointing. This will give your child a language example in real time for your child to learn from. Let's talk about questions. If we are truly following our child's lead, we don't want to keep asking questions. As a general rule of thumb, for each question we ask, we should try and make 5 comments or statements. Let's think about switching some of our questions to a comment or statement. If your child is playing with a red truck, rather than asking, "What's that?" we could say, "Truck." Rather than asking, "What colour is it?" we could say, "Red truck." And rather than asking, "How many cars do you have?" we could say, "5 cars." This is hard initially, but it is very important in order to provide our children with a language model to learn from. Think more about modeling the language and giving your child an example to learn from. Questions are often less helpful for helping our children learn language and vocabulary. Rather than encouraging a back and forth interaction, questions can shut them down. Always try to keep your language simple. For example, we could say red truck rather than I see you've got a red truck. Here's a recap of our interaction strategies. Observe your child. Get face to face. Wait and respond. Follow their lead. Be a copycat. Comment on their play or what they're doing. Make it a game if you can. Reduce questions as much as possible. Let's have a look at some of these strategies in action. You can find the link to a useful video in the video description below. Have a watch of this video and focus on the adult. What does she do? What strategies does she use to get an interaction started?
Let's have a think about why these interaction strategies are so useful for building communication. They can help children feel safe and listened to. When adults slow down, give children time to respond, and show that they're interested in what the child is communicating, children feel safe, valued, and heard. Feeling emotionally secure makes it much easier for children to engage and communicate. The strategies are also relationship based because they focus on building warm, responsive interactions. By following the child's lead and responding to their interests, we strengthen our communication with them. That trusting relationship provides the foundation for communication, learning, and emotional development. They can help develop shared attention. The strategies help establish shared attention where the adult and the child are focused on the same activity or the same object together. Shared attention is a key building block for communication because it creates opportunities to share experiences, language, and learning. They help children stay and play. By following the child's interests rather than directing interaction, children are more likely to stay engaged in the activity. Longer periods of shared play create more natural opportunities for communication and learning. Children can be more motivated to learn as well. They learn best when they're interested and actively involved. By building on what motivates the child, these strategies make learning meaningful and enjoyable, increasing their willingness to participate and communicate. They can also reduce pressure on the child. Rather than expecting children to respond immediately or asking lots of questions, these strategies reduce the pressure to perform. Giving children time and space allows them to communicate at their own pace and in ways that they feel comfortable. It also shows that we are interested in them. Following the child's lead sends a powerful message that their ideas, interests, and attempts to communicate matter. This helps build confidence and encourages children to keep interacting and sharing with others. Finally, these strategies are evidence-based. The interaction strategies are supported by research into early communication and child development. Evidence consistently shows that responsive, child-led interactions help develop communication, language, social engagement, and positive relationships. Now that we've learned how to develop interaction skills, we'll now focus on strategies to help with developing language and communication. In order to learn language, a child must be able to attend to others and learn from them. This is a skill that some children acquire naturally, but others require a little bit more help. Once a child learns to interact with others, they will then have the foundations to begin to learn language or build on vocabulary. It's important to note that eye contact is not required when implementing these strategies. Some children and young people prefer not to use eye contact, and that's a perfectly valid way of communicating. As we discussed earlier, we want to provide children with a language model to learn from. So when we're commenting on what our child is doing, it's best to start with simple language first and slowly add to this as your child's vocabulary develops over time. For example, if your child is speaking using single words, you can expand their language by adding an extra word to your comments. If your child is playing with a car, for example, you could comment red car, fast car, big car, and so on. As your child's language develops, you can keep adding words to your comments. For example, big red car, fast red car go, and so on. We will now talk a little bit about Gestalt language processors, otherwise known as GLP. It's very common for autistic children to develop language skills in a different way to neurotypical children. Gestalt language processors use echolalia to communicate. Echolalia is language that has been copied or learned in chunks, often from TV shows or films. Echolalia can be immediate or delayed. Immediate echolalia refers to words or chunks of words echoed immediately after hearing them. For example, an adult might say, "Time for bed," and the child repeats this immediately after. Delayed echolalia is when a child uses words or phrases they've heard before, sometime after they were originally spoken. These might come from conversations with familiar adults or from scripts in favourite TV programmes, films, or storybooks. For example, a child who's hurt themselves might say, "Are you okay?" because it's a phrase they've often heard adults say to them when they've been injured. In this context, the child is not asking a question. They're using a familiar phrase to communicate that they are hurt. Your child will learn language best when you use these chunks to support their language development. If your child does learn language this way, it may be helpful to add melody or sing-song to the things that you say. For example, rather than saying, "Let's go to the bath," you can say, "Let's go to the bath." Be a detective and try and interpret your child's messages. Have a think where they might be from and try to work out the possible message behind the chunks of language they're using. Gestalt language processing is a common and perfectly valid way to learn and develop language skills. Once your child is happy for you to join them in their play, you can begin to gently add to what they're already doing. For some children, simply tolerating another person in their play takes time, so don't rush this stage. Start by following the child's lead and joining in with the way they are already playing. For example, they might enjoy spinning the wheels on a toy car or lining their toys up. Rather than immediately changing their play, spend some time copying and enjoying it alongside of them. Once you've gained their attention and they're comfortable with you being involved, you can then model a new way to play. For example, you might roll the car along the floor, drive it around a track, or introduce a simple pretend play idea. The aim isn't to stop the child playing in their preferred way, but to show them an additional way that they can use the toy. Watch how the child responds. If they're interested, you can continue building on the interaction. As you play together, remember to add simple language by commenting on what's happening rather than asking them lots of questions. This helps children make connections between words, actions, and shared experiences in a fun and meaningful way. Another useful strategy is to create opportunities for communication. Throughout the day, we often become very good at anticipating our child's needs. We know what they want before they have to tell us, so naturally, we'll often hand things to them or do things for them. While this is helpful, It can sometimes reduce opportunities for children to practice their communication skills. Instead, we can build small, natural opportunities into everyday routines that give children a reason to communicate for us. The goal here is not to test them or to make them ask for things. It's to create moments where we can respond to their communication and provide a meaningful language model. For example, you could place a favourite toy where your child can see it but can't quite reach it. They might look at the toy, reach towards it, look at you, or vocalise. Whatever they do, you can respond by modelling language such as car, you want the car, before giving it to them. You might play games like tickles, bubbles, or hide and seek, where the fun naturally pauses and your child has an opportunity to let you know that they want the activity to continue or they want more. You could offer only a few pieces of snack at a time, hand over one piece of a toy that needs assembling at a time, or offer simple choices like apple or banana. You can even introduce something unexpected, such as putting a toy in the wrong place or giving them the wrong coloured cup, to encourage them to notice and communicate with you. Once you've created an opportunity, the most important thing to do is wait. Give your child time to process what's happening and decide how they want to communicate. This might be through words, sounds, gestures, pointing, eye gaze, or signs. Whatever form it takes, respond positively and model the language that matches what they're trying to communicate. It's important to remember that this strategy is about creating enjoyable, low pressure opportunities to communicate. We're not encouraging you to withhold essential items or ignore your child's needs. If your child becomes frustrated or distressed, respond to them and move on. The aim is to support successful communication, not to create unnecessary challenges. Reading books and singing nursery rhymes are simple but powerful ways to support your child's language development. They expose children to a wide range of vocabulary, sentence structures, and ideas that they might not hear in everyday conversation or life. One of the reasons books and nursery rhymes are so effective is that they're predictable and repetitive. Many children, particularly those with communication differences, enjoy this predictability because it helps them understand what's coming next and gives them a repeated opportunity to hear the same words and phrases in a meaningful context. You might find that your child wants to read the same book every day or sing the same nursery rhyme over and over again. Although this might feel repetitive to us, repetition is one of the ways children learn. Each time they hear the story or rhyme, they're strengthening their understanding of the language and becoming more confident with it. As your child becomes more familiar with a book or nursery rhyme, you could encourage their participation by pausing at key moments and giving them the opportunity to join in. For example, you might say, Humpty Dumpty sat on a, and then wait expectantly. They might finish the sentence with a word, a sound, a gesture, or even just a smile. Whatever their response, acknowledge it and continue enjoying the activity or story together. Remember, the goal here isn't to see whether your child knows the right answer or can say the word. It's to create fun, shared experiences where they hear language repeatedly, have opportunities to participate, and learn that communication is enjoyable. It's important to remember that sharing books doesn't always mean sitting down and reading the story from beginning to end. Some children just aren't ready for this yet, and that's absolutely okay. They may prefer to flick through the pages, look at the pictures, or explore the book in their own way. Rather than focusing on reading every word, follow your child's lead. Sit alongside them and comment on the pictures that catch their attention. For example, you might simply say pig or bear. This provides a clear language model without placing any demands on your child to respond. Allow your child to interact with the book in the way that they enjoy. They might want to hold the book themselves, turn the pages at their own pace, or spend a long time just looking at one page. By joining them in their interests, you're creating a positive, shared experience around books. If your child is comfortable with it, point to the pictures as you name them. This helps them make the connection between the spoken word and the picture that they're looking at, supporting their understanding of language. Remember, the goal isn't to finish the story or read every single page. The goal is to create enjoyable, shared moments where your child hears language linked to something they're already interested in. Even a few minutes of looking at pictures together can be a valuable opportunity for communication and learning. Sharing books together helps to develop your child's attention and listening skills, which are important foundations for language learning. As children spend more time engaged in shared activities with an adult, they're not only practicing paying attention, but they're also hearing new words and language used in meaningful contexts. The more opportunities your child has to enjoy books with you, the more familiar the experience becomes. Over time, many children are able to stay engaged for longer periods and gradually build on their attention and listening skills. If your child isn't ready to sit and listen to a whole story, that's perfectly okay. Start where they are. You might simply look at the pictures together, comment on what you see, and gradually increase the amount of language you use as your child becomes more interested and more engaged. With time, they may become ready to listen to more of the story. Sensory books such as Lift the Flap or Touch and Feel books can be particularly motivating because they encourage children to actively explore and interact with the book. These shared moments can create natural opportunities for communication. Singing nursery rhymes is another fun and effective way to support your child's communication and language development. Nursery rhymes help children to hear new vocabulary, develop their attention and listening skills, and become familiar with the rhythm and patterns of language. One of the benefits of nursery rhymes is that they're often repetitive and predictable. This gives children lots of opportunities to hear the same words and phrases over and over, helping them to understand and remember new language. Over time, they may begin to join in with parts of the rhyme, actions, sounds, or words when they're ready. Adding actions to nursery rhymes is a great way to support your child's understanding. For example, when you pretend to row during row, row, row your boat, or making movements during round and round the garden, you're helping your child connect the words they hear with what they mean. It's also important to consider your child's sensory preferences when using nursery rhymes. Some children are more motivated by movement and physical interaction, so including activities such as jumping, swinging, rocking, bouncing, or tickling can help them stay engaged and enjoy the interaction for longer. The aim isn't for your child to sit still or sing every word. The goal is to create enjoyable shared experiences where your child is more motivated to engage, listen, anticipate what comes next, and develop communication skills through play and interaction. One of the great things about these strategies is that they are incredibly simple. You don't need any special equipment, a planned activity, or a specific time set aside to practice them. The most important thing you need is you and your child. These strategies can be used anywhere and at any time, during play, while waiting for the kettle to boil, in the bath or on a walk or during everyday routines. The focus isn't on creating a perfect learning activity, it's about making everyday interactions more enjoyable and more meaningful. There should be no pressure to achieve a particular outcome or complete a specific task. The goal is shared enjoyment, and we can achieve this by following our child's lead, building a connection, and helping your child see you as someone who is fun, interesting, and rewarding to interact with. When children enjoy being with us and feel connected, they're more likely to engage, communicate, and learn. These small moments of interaction throughout the day are where communication develops naturally. The most important thing is to have fun and enjoy these interactions with your child. As we explained earlier, every child is different, so take some time to explore what works best for you and your child and what they respond to the most. Try out different strategies, notice what captures their interest, and use their responses to guide you. Your child will show you what they enjoy through the ways they engage, communicate, and join in. Remember, communication develops through lots of small positive interactions over time. Celebrate all attempts to communicate and enjoy the moments that you share together. To finish, let's bring together the key strategies we've discussed. The main idea is to create lots of enjoyable opportunities for communication throughout your child's day. Start with activities your child already enjoys. When children are interested and motivated, they're more likely to engage with us. Join your child in their play by copying what they're doing, showing them that you are interested in their ideas and interests. Once your child is comfortable with you being part of their play, you can begin to gently add in new ideas by modeling different ways to use toys. Remember, the aim isn't to change how your child plays, but to expand their experiences and create more opportunities for interaction. Throughout these activities, add simple language by commenting on what your child is doing or what they're interested in. This could be single words such as ball, blue, or cat, and then you can gradually increase the amount of language you use as your child communication develops. Use songs, nursery rhymes, and books as opportunities to share enjoyable interactions. Include actions, movement, and repetition, and remember that looking at pictures and commenting on what you see can be just as valuable as reading a whole story. As your child becomes familiar with books and rhymes, give them opportunities to join in by finishing familiar phrases or anticipating what comes next. Finally, look for everyday moments where your child has a reason to communicate. These small opportunities throughout the day help build confidence, develop language, and strengthen the connection between you and your child. The most important thing is to follow your child's lead, enjoy the interaction, and remember that communication can be supported in many different ways.